I would like to introduce our speaker for this session, Amy Jarvie. Amy earned a bachelor's degree in early childhood education and geography at Worcester State University in Worcester, Massachusetts. She earned her master's degree in deaf education at Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts. Amy has worked as an itinerant teacher of the deaf and an early intervention specialist in Massachusetts. As an early intervention specialist, she worked as both a teacher of the deaf and a developmental specialist. As an itinerant teacher of the deaf, she consulted with many towns as well as provided direct services for children ranging in age from preschool to high school. While residing in Georgia for 4 years.
Hey, Google, stop.
Sorry. Okay, so while residing in Georgia for 4 years, Amy served as a licensed Georgia Pines Sky High parent advisor and a certified Wilson Level 1 reading specialist. She worked at the Catherine Ham Center, a listening and spoken language school for children with hearing loss. Amy has also worked as a public school special education teacher, and while working at Utah State University, she supervised graduate students in the listening and spoken language program. Currently, Amy works for Utah State Schools for the Deaf and Blind as a parent advisor in the parent-infant program. She chose the field of deaf language and literacy because her youngest daughter, Courtney, is deaf. Amy is also a wife and mother of 3 adult daughters. She loves to travel, hike, kayak, and bike ride with her husband, John. Amy and her oldest daughter, Erica, practice yoga together several times a week. And here is Amy Jarvie.
Thank you, Patricia. Welcome, everyone. Just some housekeeping. This is interactive. It's engaging. We will be learning and growing from one another. So when you wish to participate, please feel free to turn on your video and turn on your microphone. There's lots of opportunities to talk and engage with each other. First thing we're going to start off with is an energy level check. Typically, people say, "How are you doing?" And response, "Good." Let's get to know a little bit better about how we're doing. If you had to describe your current energy as a weather pattern, what would that weather pattern be and why? Why are you feeling that weather?
I'll go ahead and share. Well, I'm a fairly new mom, and so my energy level is very low. So I don't know what weather pattern that would be, but maybe cloudy.
Great. Thank you, Holly. Thanks for sharing. I would say my weather pattern.
love that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just transferring over to my video, so give me a second. But I am an educator, and we are on spring break this week. And so my weather pattern this week is a calm, pleasant, mild day.
Great. Thank you for sharing. You can see when you ask these energy level checks how you can probe a little bit further if you really want to know how someone's doing. I've asked them about shoes. If your energy level was a pair of shoes, what kind of shoes would you be? What kind of car would you be? Kind of just gives you a different way to check in and actually see how someone's actually doing, a coworker or a friend. Okay, we're going to start with a mindfulness moment. In our busy lives, there's so much going on, so much distraction. To get focused and grounded on the workshop, we're just going to spend a minute breathing, trying to eliminate the outside world.
Hi, and welcome to Headspace. So no matter what's going on in your life right now, no matter how many thoughts are racing around your mind, no matter how the body's feeling, just take a moment to sit down and take a big, deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you breathe in, a sense of taking in fresh air, the lungs expanding. As you breathe out, a sense of letting go of any stress in the body and the mind, just feeling the muscles soften and relax. And close your eyes if you'd like to. One more, breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just take a moment to pause. Allow the thoughts to come and go. And then just gently opening the eyes again.
Okay. Neither books nor people have Velcro sides. There must be a bonding agent, someone who attaches a child to the book. That's us. That's us as parents. That's us as teachers. We are that agent. So we're going to think for a moment about our present life. We're going to think about what was the last thing that you read or the last literacy activity you took part in. As I'm thinking about that, all of my last literacy activities have been work related. Reading the presentation, going back over the presentation. Earlier this morning, I had a couple sessions with children. I was taking down notes, so I was writing, I was typing up my notes. So most of what I've done today has been work related. But then I think back a little bit more, go back a little bit earlier. I start work at 6. I did a little personal reading. So I have a little journal that I wrote in, and I have daily quote that I read. So I did have some personal time to read as well. Would anyone like to self-reflect what their latest literacy activity looked like for them?
I'd say mine is pretty similar to what you just said. I do a lot of reading and writing for work, as well as homework since I'm working on my master's as well. So there's that. But then trying to find that time to do some personal activities, writing in a journal each night before bed, reading I also have a quote of the day that I read when I wake up. Things like that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, now we're going to go way back. We're going to go back to those childhood memories. And we're going to self-reflect about what literacy looked like for you as a child. If you have an earliest memory, trying to dig back deep, was there something that connected you to books, to writing, to drawing, things that were literacy related tasks? And I don't know how everybody age of the people that are here, but for me, almost 50 years old, I did not have technology, right? So my connections were not related to FaceTime or Facebook or iPads, reading on a Kindle. There were no activities like that. And when I reflect back personally for myself, that agent for me that grounded a book to myself was myself. I did not have the privilege to be read to as a child. I was sung to. My father loved to sing. And that is directly correlated to literacy, but to an actual book, I don't have those rich experiences. So we're just going to take a second for you to go back into your childhood and see if you can pull back any memory that you remember about literacy.
Amy,
Yes.
this is Liz. And one of the earliest memories I have that I can recall is I used to collect Madame Alexander dolls, which was very popular back in the days. And that connected me to Little Women. And so having that tangible object connected to a book.
And we're going to talk about language experiences as one of our strategies. And you just gave a nice intro to how to connect a book to something tangible in your real everyday life, the life of your child. Thank you. All right, we're going to watch this little clip. And this is about imitation, our first strategy.
How would you act if you knew everything you did was being recorded?
Go! The light is not going to get any greener!
Well, if you have a baby, most everything is being recorded. Kids are the best copycats in the world. They watch, they listen, and they learn from you. Even at a very young age, your child will imitate your behavior. You are your child's first teacher. She's learning from you every day, in every way. So set a positive example, and always keep your audience in mind.
Some milk? Children learn by imitating you. For more information on parenting, visit pbsparents.org.
Okay, so strategy 1, children learn by imitation. I'm going to open this next slide, and it's a link to the First Word Project, which was designed out of Georgia. And this talks about gestures. Children should have 16 gestures by 16 months. And these gestures that they give are specific. However, if your family has different gestures, they count. Now, why are we looking at gestures when we're talking about literacy? Why does that matter? Gestures predict language development. Language development is directly tied to literacy development. Gestures are learned through imitation. So this is a resource you can have that you can look back to. Natural gestures, raising our hands, waving goodbye, high five, celebrating. When someone gets a touchdown, the players, their hands are up. We, even as adults, use loads and loads of gestures. To move this so I can close that. So at home, what should we be doing? We want our children to see us reading, writing, texting, typing. We want them to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. We want them to have the same tools that we have so that they can imitate us doing what we're doing. So, for example, if I have my phone and I am texting, but my child doesn't have the opportunity to pretend to text, they're not going to be able to imitate that. So what could that look like? We don't want to give them our phone. They don't have the skill to text, but could we pretend a block was an iPhone and that we could text on it? Is there a toy phone that we could use that we could say, oh, you're texting grandma. What are you going to tell grandma? What kinds of things can you provide so that the child, your child, has that opportunity to imitate you so that they're learning those literacy skills? Everyone has different opinions about the use of technology, the use of Facebook and Instagram and email. I've bought into it. It is a fact of life nowadays. Everyone has their phones. People are getting texts all of the time. So I want to do some practice around how could we use Facebook? How could we use Facebook with our child to promote literacy? This is a snapshot taken from my Facebook feed. This is a friend that I have here in Utah, and she went on a camping trip. Does anyone want to share if they had their child with them and they were scrolling through their Facebook feed, how they could make that, rather than an isolated parent-only task, that we now have parent and child engaged in a literacy activity?
You could talk about feelings, how the dog is feeling.
Thank you. You sure could. Anyone else want to share? What would you do? You have your 2-year-old, your 3-year-old, your 5-year-old, and instead of looking at that phone by yourself, how are you drawing them into this literacy?
Amy, this is Melanie. You would definitely talk about what you see, like that little 2-year-old or 3-year-old, oh, doggy or whatever, you know, and what is a dog doing and how is it camping with its owner, those kind of things. I mean, just a lot of rich conversation, I think.
For sure. Yes. And Melanie just pointed out rich conversation. So that's that social and emotional connection. So instead of having this tool, right? And I'm calling it a tool. Our families have it, you have it, I have it, my mom has it, my grandma, who's 88 years old, has an iPhone and she has Facebook. So let's use it. And as Melanie said, we're connecting, we're sitting with our child. And honestly, anything you say about this picture that you are connecting with your child, making an animal sound, your child is older. Maybe you're pointing out what a hashtag is. What happens if you put in hashtag Lady Logan? I actually don't know the answer to that question, but maybe you find out with your child. Okay, next one. I'm sitting on my phone and I get this email. It says, happy birthday to you. It's from Stacked, which is in Logan, Utah. It is a pancake restaurant that has amazing buttermilk syrup. How am I talking to my child? How am I using my technology, again, to promote literacy?
I'm trying to think how you could do it. Maybe someone else has a good idea, but somehow bringing the community into coming into your house. And I just don't know how you would start that conversation.
Okay, anyone want to help her out? She has an idea. She wants to connect literacy to the community. What a great idea. Literacy is part of the community.
This doesn't really go with the community aspect, but one thing I was thinking of is like starting to sing happy birthday. Like, oh, look, they're wishing me happy birthday. They wrote it. Can we sing it? Or something like that.
Great idea, Megan. And again, there's no right or wrong, just like with that Facebook post. Melanie pointed out that social engaging between the child and the parent or the grandparent or the caretaker. It is taking something that can be isolating and not engaging and making it engaging with the child. It can look like singing happy birthday. You had commented, and I apologize, what's your name? About the community? Elizabeth.
Liz, yeah.
There you go. So when you said community, I hadn't thought of that, but I wonder how familiar the child is with this restaurant. And how old is the child? Is this child 5 and they know that Stacked is across the street from the park that they visit? Can you connect to that? Is this place familiar to them that you can talk about that?
That's a great idea. Yeah. Bring in those familiarities. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in the grocery store. So much reading in the grocery store. There is something called branding. Nike does it, Google does it, Facebook does it. We are able to read signs because of branding. And young children that have things that are important to them are learning to read at a very young age. I am talking about a 1-year-old knowing which puff on that shelf in that grocery store is their container of puffs, that those are the Fruit Loops that they want or the Cheerios they want. They're recognizing McDonald's or Chick-fil-A if that's what you're doing. So here's an example of an older child in the grocery store with her parents. It looks like mom is saying no, her fingers up, and I think she's like, the child can't have whatever that is. What's someone thinking in terms of using grocery shopping in everyday experience to promote literacy development?
I would maybe point out the colors, or if there's characters on certain foods, textures. Oh, look at these beans. They crunch when we squeeze them, or whatever it may be.
Perfect.
And building on that, the ABCs as you go down with those same colors, and a red A, a blue B. Mm-hmm.
There's
Sorry, one more quick comment. I don't know if anyone remembers, but remember the cheese commercial? The dad telling the kid, going through the grocery store and naming all the cheeses as he goes down the grocery aisle, you know, exposing them to those unique names.
I don't remember that, but that would be wonderful for this presentation to put that in. And there we go again, back to Melanie's point about connecting. So you talked about naming all the cheeses as you go down the cheese. Oh, we're looking for the American cheese. Oh, that's not American. That's Gouda. That's feta. Look at the vocabulary you're building. Look at that connection between the parent and child. So instead of just pushing the shopping cart, we are engaging in this massive, rich literacy environment. There are signs everywhere. There are print, there are pictures. There are items the child's going to recognize, the M&Ms at the checkout, the lollipop with the sign that says suckers or whatever they're called in the area that you're in. Okay. Strategy number 2, following your child's lead. Now, disclaimer, you do not have to follow your child's lead all the time. If your child doesn't want to wear their shoes and you're going somewhere that the child needs to have the shoes on, it's okay. They're going to put their shoes on. They don't want to wear their coat and it's 20 degrees outside. It's okay. You don't have to follow their lead. However, in play and in a lot of everyday situations, it is appropriate to be following your child's lead. Whoops, why did the video not play?
One of the strategies we like to use is following the child's lead.
Mommy, I play Emily kiss.
You want to play over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, what do you see?
I have fire.
A fireman.
When children are interested, they're more receptive to our input and they're more willing to participate and cooperate with us. Your goal is inputting language. It will be easier to follow their lead than force them to do an activity that they're not really interested in.
How true is that for all of us? We as adults, if we are interested in doing something, it is so much easier to learn than if we're being forced. If you're forced to take that suicide prevention course or that CPR training versus you wanting to genuinely learn, it looks very different, not just for children, but also for us as adults. So having that in mind, we're going to talk about, do we read the words or the pictures? So when we're reading a book, should you be reading the words or looking at and talking about the pictures that are in the book? And what are the benefits? So we've got a 6-month-old little baby, and we have a new mom on here as well. Your baby is soon going to be chewing books. So your baby is chewing on that book, and there's a big picture of a duck. Now's the time to be talking about the picture. Your son or daughter wants to chew on the book. They don't want the book open. They're not interested in what the words are saying. They're interested in gnawing on it. So maybe that looks like, here's our literacy. Quack, quack. Don't eat me. Don't eat me. No, you're eating the duck. Quack, quack. No, stop. Quack, quack. Save me. 10 seconds, maybe you just read your child their book. They're eating the book. You're pretending you're the duck. You've had that connection. Maybe you have a rubber duck that you can reach over and give and say, hey, eat me instead. And you let your child gnaw on that rubber duck instead of the book. But it's totally okay. They can gnaw on the book all they want. Okay, we have an 18-month-old child now, older. They're sitting in your lap. They're snuggled against you. They're holding the book. Now maybe we're reading the words. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're just talking about the pictures. We're going to follow your child's lead. So is that child more interested in the pictures? Is your child pointing at the mouth that's wide open? And you're like, yeah, I see he's eating spaghetti. Whoa, his mouth is so big. My mouth is big. Or is your child leaning against you and looking like, yeah, we're ready to talk about the words. Spaghetti is yummy. Worms are yucky. Ew, yucky. So following what your child is doing to help you determine how reading the book looks. And that's different minute by minute. 1 minute, it might look like your child's ready and looking, pointing, and you're talking about the pictures. And the next minute, it might look like your child's ready for some words to be being read off the page. All right, we have another book. And this book is actually all three of my daughter's favorite book. And on this page, we have some great words. Boom, boom, boom. So again, we're going to have a child. We're going to have an older child. We're going to have a 5-year-old. Highly probable that they're ready to sit and look at all these words. But maybe your child, you're sitting and reading this book, and your child gets up and they're moving around the room. And they're kind of looking at the book, but they're kind of distracted. Maybe you boom around the room. You lean the book against the couch. You're following their lead. Their attention has shifted. And you're going to see, can I bring them back in with physical activity? They got up. Can we act out the book? There's this mouse with the strawberry on his back, and it's so heavy. So can we pretend to be carrying something heavy? The words say sniff, sniff, sniff. So could we pretend something's heavy? Sniff, 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 and draw them back to the words on the page, because we have an older child who has a greater attention span. We're following their lead. Looks like they need some movement. How can we move and read the book? Reading a book does not have to look like sitting on a lap, opening and turning pages. We can read the words on this page while we are booming around the living room. Okay, we're going to do a quick little practice. So words or pictures. We've got a 30-month-old who has chicka chicka boom boom. You guys have been sitting and reading this book, but they just got up and they left. They went over to the refrigerator and they're grabbing their magnets. What do you want to do? Your child was reading the book, they left, they got the magnets, and they're coming back with the magnets. We want to go back to the words. We're going to talk about the pictures. What are we going to do?
Well, with chicka chicka boom boom, I would take the magnets and have the magnet climb the tree and You know, and then maybe shake the book and the magnets all fall down or something like that too.
Okay, so Megan is saying this child wants to interact. That's what she thinks, right? Because we're not always sure when we're following a child's lead. We're making a really good guess. So child's bringing the magnets back. Child wants to connect the magnets to the book. And Megan has just turned it into an interactive activity. All right, your 3-year-old has just laid down with their dog and they're reading Old Hat, New Hat. What are you doing as the parent? Or if you're a parent coach of some kind, what are you going to coach the parents to do? For me, I'm not doing anything. I might take my video camera out if I'm not going to distract my child, and I might record it. They are looking at the pictures and they are telling their story to their pet. They have shown you, they learned imitation. They have seen you read to them. They have seen you read to others, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, emails, books, newspapers, junk mail, and they are now taking and showing you, hey, I learned how to imitate you. I learned to talk about the pictures in this book. I don't know what the words say, but I know we talk about pictures and I see a hat and I'm just going to soak it in as a parent, give myself a little pat on the back and say, good job. All right. Strategy number 3 is language experiences. If you take away one thing from today's workshop, please let it be language experiences. These are a bonding agent. They are that Velcro that is going to promote that love of literacy development. Why is it? Because it's interactive and is connecting your child to their world. So when that child went to the refrigerator and got the magnet, and Megan stopped the book reading, right? She's not reading the words anymore. And she's turning that magnet and that book into a fun interactive activity by climbing up the tree. Your child's going to remember that. Your child is going to imitate that at some point later on. Maybe they take that magnet and they actually bring it outside and you're like, where are all the magnets? And they tried to have them climb up a real tree. Those are all good things. Those are great things. So a language experience is an activity that connects your book to the real world. It can be fast and quick. It can be simple and complex. It can be free or it can cost money. It can require materials or no materials. And it can be immediate. You can do it in the future, or maybe you already did a language experience in the past. So that email that said free pancakes at Stacked, maybe you've already been to Stacked and you can connect that past experience to that email that came in. If you're acting out vocabulary in a book, you are creating a language experience. So let's say the words were boom, boom, boom. If you got up and boom, boom, boom around the room, it didn't cost any money. It was fast, easy. You just connected that book to that child's life and you created rich meaning around vocabulary. And this is the strategy taken from Cox Campus, which is an excellent resource for people. It's free. And it's explaining how to teach young children vocabulary. Sometimes we have to tell them what a word actually means, but whenever possible, we want to be pointing or acting out the actual vocabulary. All right, so some examples. I did these for common books. So brown bear, brown bear. Go outside and look at a bird. Go to the pond and look at ducks. Take a trip to a farm. Pat your own dog or your cat. Get a stuffed plastic animal from the story. Grab markers, paint, crayon. Talk about colors. Point to body parts on a page and then on your child or yourself. In this book, the teacher has glasses. So you show your child your glasses or grandparents that wear glasses and connect it to the story. I love this picture. So this is Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. Okay, little creative, you're in the grocery store and you're like, oh, we read that book, Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. There's coconuts. Let's buy a coconut. Who buys a coconut? I don't know, but we're going to buy one. Maybe you don't buy it because you're like, I don't know what to do with this coconut. You show your child the coconut. Play with magnets, foam letters, pretend to cry. In this story, the letter falls down and it gets hurt. You wiggle, right? There's our action to teach vocabulary. Look out at the sun or the moon. And maybe your child has a boo-boo and you point out the child's Band-Aid or bandage. Old hat, new hat. Hats, everybody has hats. Just grab a hat. You just connected and made a language experience. Get a whole bunch of hats. Look in a mirror because he's looking at himself with his hat on in a mirror. Go to the store and look at hats. Buy a balloon at the dollar store. So this book's actually about opposites. So light and heavy, and then the balloon floats up. Carry something light and heavy in your house. Put on something tight. Put on something loose. Make a happy face, an angry face. So you can see how easy and quick it can be to take a book and connect it to your child. In the beginning, someone shared about their doll and having a drive. That doll drove their interest into that book, Little Women. Little Women. Okay, in the essence of time, we're going to move on to strategy 4, rich environments. All of your homes right now are already literacy rich environments. You don't need to buy anything. If you look around your house, in your kitchen, there is tons of stuff that is literacy. In your bathroom, there's literacy. In your bedrooms, in your office, there's literacy everywhere. So how do we create a literacy rich home? Back to that imitation and following your child's lead. How can we take unloading the groceries in your literacy rich kitchen as we're putting the cans on the shelf? My cans, my beans go with my beans. So taking things that you already have in your home and adding that language to it, making that connection for your child, that you're pointing out that the pictures are the same. Oh, these are your puffs. Yeah, your puffs go right here on this shelf. Those are the same. Yeah, it says puffs. Yeah, those are letters, because your child's pointing to the letters and you're pointing them out. You have, right here on my desk, I have a stack of pens. You're letting your child see and having the opportunity to use these tools with paper, with junk mail. There's another thing, right? Literacy rich home. All those flyers that come in the mail. How many different literacy activities can we do with all that junk mail that comes in? And maybe that looks as simple as taking a crayon, and before you go to the grocery store, you're scribbling down your list, and your child is scribbling down their list of what you need at the grocery store. Maybe it looks like taking the Amazon boxes and breaking them down, and you're pointing out that that Amazon has that branding. It has that symbol. Again, all of these things are already in your home. It's simply moving to that connection Melanie spoke about earlier, that you are connecting what's in your home to language and literacy development while you're bonding with your child. Okay, strategy number 5. This is our last strategy. And this is theory of mind. Oh my goodness. I need so much work on theory of mind. I'm continuously working on it myself as an adult.
beginning about 15 years ago, there's one property of human intelligence that scientists got very interested in, and it's called having a theory of mind. And the best way to describe it is to describe a classic experiment with human children. So imagine you're sitting around and you're telling stories with your younger sister, and you tell them a story and say, well, here's Sally. And Sally has a bowl that she really likes, and she's going to put it in the basket, which is right there in front of her. And she hides the ball in the basket. And here's Anne, Sally's friend, and they're playing together. And Sally then says, I've got to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to leave the room. And when she leaves the room, Anne takes the ball out of the basket and puts it in a box, the green box that she's got next to her. Now Sally comes back into the room and she wants to play with the ball. And supposing you ask your sister, where is Sally going to look for the ball? If your sister is 3 years old, she'll say, in the box, because she knows that's where the ball is. And a 3-year-old has knowledge, of course, but can't imagine that other people have knowledge that's different from her own. So if she knows the ball's in the box, everybody knows the ball's in the box. And that's because a 3-year-old doesn't do what scientists call attributing mental states to other people. She doesn't think that other people have thoughts, desires, beliefs, knowledge. So she answers the question incorrectly. As children get older, it happens pretty quickly, 4 or 5 or so. They go through the same test and you ask them the same question and they begin to say, well, Sally's going to look for the ball in the basket because that's where she thinks it is. And a 5 or 6-year-old will say, she'll look for the ball in the basket because she thinks incorrectly that the ball is still in the basket. But I know it's been moved into the box. So by 6, children have the ability to attribute mental states to others. They have what we call a theory of mind. And we call it a theory because there's nothing about the other person that shows that they're thinking. Thoughts are hidden. We don't see them. The only way we can imagine that thoughts are there and that they cause behavior is if we have a theory about the way the world works. People have thoughts and the thoughts cause them what to do. And of course, humans, our theory of mind just pervades all of our life. We're forever making a distinction between what people do and what they think we do. I mean, think about your relationships with other people. Yeah, she was nice to me yesterday, but does she really like me? Or I think that he doesn't know that you really do like him. These things can get incredibly baroque, where you're attributing theory of mind back and forth to 3 other people. And it's what we do in plays, it's what we do in our daily life all the time. But it's not something we're born with. You've got to learn it.
Okay, theory of mind.
Amy, sorry. I'm sorry. I just want you to know that we have 10 minutes before the end of the session, just to remind you that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So how? Oh my goodness. Theory of mind is so complex. As I shared, I said, I'm still working of theory of mind. You heard him at the end of the video saying, well, they did this and right. So you're trying to take on their mental state. And now think about it as a young child. Think about how are we as parents developing theory of mind? What are things that we can work on to do that? So we're going to give it a try. We're going to start this out. You have a 6-month-old baby and they are screaming because their bottle is empty. How can you work on theory of mind? Label the emotion. Emotion words. Those are essential. So often in life, we are not using emotion words. We're standing in the grocery line and someone cuts us off. Our child can see our reaction on our face, but are we saying, I'm really frustrated that person just cut the line? Are we giving them those emotion words? In reading, we call things called a think aloud. And that's when we say what's happening in our mind, when we share that with our child. When we say, I am frustrated, they cut me. That's taking what's in our head and it's putting it out there. Child doesn't have to gasp. They don't have to try on, figure out your mental state. You're giving them the language behind it. So in this first example, simply labeling that child's emotion. They're hungry and they are screaming. They are upset. So a 15-month-old is playing on the floor with her blocks. The blocks fall onto her teddy bear. What might help theory of mind development? So again, the emotion, the blocks fell onto the teddy bear. How is the teddy bear feeling? Ouch, that hurts. The teddy bear's sad. The blocks fell on him. Maybe the 15-month-old, when the blocks fell on the teddy bear, is screaming. Maybe they're frustrated. Maybe they run away. So labeling that emotion, whether it's the child itself or pretending the teddy bear is the one who's having the emotion. Okay. Your 2-year-old is playing with another 2-year-old. He takes a toy away from a child. How common is this in our everyday life? The child has a tantrum. Okay. So your child has taken a toy from another child. The child who had the toy taken away is now having a tantrum. And as the video showed, the 2-year-old is not able to take on the perspective of that other child. He wants the toy. He sees it as what he wants. So pointing out that child's emotion, having that joint attention where your child is now looking at the other child, you're pointing out his face and talking to him that he's sad. You took the toy he had. He's feeling sad. You're reading to a child at any age, and the picture clearly shows an emotion. Emotions in books, in young children's books, are highly visible. It is a great opportunity for you to talk about what you're seeing. You are driving with 2 children in the back seat. We talked about this one already, and someone cuts you off. You honk your horn. And you saw this in the video of imitation too. So think about that in imitation. The mom's honking the horn, ha, ha. And she yells out the window something derogatory at that person. That's what the child will imitate. How different would that theory of mind look if that mom said, I'm really angry. I'm going to take a breath. Oh, I'm so mad that person cut me off. And the child is hearing and seeing that being modeled. Okay. Despite all your efforts, you're unable to open a jar of sauce you need for dinner. Your child is watching you. Another opportunity of theory of mind development. You're frustrated, you can't do it. You're angry. You're using those emotions, using what you're thinking in your head and giving those words to your child. You're looking at a Facebook post and you see a friend's dog passed away. You start crying and your child notices and comes over. Is this where you just brush off your eyes and say, I'm okay? Does someone want to take a shot? What are you going to do in that opportunity?
I think it's like you said, it's a good time to just model how you deal with those emotions properly.
And talking about them. So rather than hiding the emotion, right? I'm okay.
And I think it's a good time to teach empathy too, to be like, yeah, I am sad because I know my friend is sad. Like I just learned something that made my friend sad and that makes me sad because I love her or something like that. To show like, it's okay to feel sad when others are sad and to share that with them.
So lots of good points. It's okay to feel sad. Very different than brushing away my tears and saying, I'm okay. Sends a very different message than acknowledging the crying. And then Megan connected it. So she connected it to the friend. I'm sad because my friend's sad, their dog died. Theory of mind is important in literacy because in order to understand stories, we need to understand characters in the story. So if we take a story like The Big Bad Wolf, Little Red Riding Hood, right? We as adults know that that wolf is a bad character. We know that wolves eat things, that he's being tricky. When he climbs into the bed and pretends to be the grandmother, we know to be afraid, right? Oh, we're afraid for Little Red Riding Hood. This is dangerous. This is going to be a bad situation. It's going to happen. That wolf is going to eat that little girl. She should get away. That's all theory of mind. That's understanding mental states. And stories do it all the time. This picture book for a child, without any words, theory of mind, we all know he's stealing the key. We know what's going on in his mental state. And we know that the zookeeper has no idea what's going to be happening. But we also know that that zookeeper's job is to keep all of those animals safe and locked up in their cages. So yes, theory of mind is good in terms of connecting with other people and connecting and developing empathy and understanding about the world around them. But it helps children understand books. And a young infant is not too young to start building theory of mind development. We're going to end with some humor. I love this.
What big eyes you have, she said. All the better to see you with, my dear. What are you doing?
Okay, cool.
Research says reading from birth accelerates the baby's brain development.
And you're doing that now?
Oh, yeah, this is the starting line.
Push. When this is over, you're dead.
Read aloud 15 minutes. Every child, every parent, every day.
Thank you, everyone. I do have resources listed for everything that was used in the presentation, and the Parent Center does have the presentation. So if you're interested in receiving it, they can get it out to you.
Yeah, we will send them all this information, and thank you so much. I would like to, on behalf of the Family Links Committee, we want to thank our presenter for this informative session and all of the content provided. Thank you, Amy.
You're very welcome.
Have done it without you. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I was taking notes, and I know that we will get all that information too. Thank you.
You're welcome.